How's it going there, everybody? This is Samuel Fisher from Green Dispensary Marketing, back again with another guest. Really excited to talk with Diane Downey. She's the co-founder and CEO of Rebel Spirit Cannabis Co. They are a cannabis brand that makes flower, cones, gummies, shatters. They're really specifically known for making high-quality, naturally grown, organic cannabis products. They got great testing cycles to kind of ensure the quality throughout their cultivation cycle. And they've been growing a lot recently, and so I'm really excited to talk with Diane to learn more about what she does, more about Rebel Spirit Cannabis Co. How are you doing today, Diane?
Fine, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we actually met abroad. We're going to talk about that a little bit here, but it was really great meeting you. Really great to meet and connect with you. But let's jump right into this. And so I'm really interested to learn more about you personally. Can you tell me about who you are and a little bit more about your professional background?
Oh, wow. Okay, well that's a story. So
Let's
I
hear it.
started in Wisconsin, and then when I was about 10 years old, my family moved to this super remote 3,000 acre cattle and hay ranch in northeastern California. So I was a ranch girl, and then where we lived, it was so remote that education was super limited, and so I'm one of seven kids. Our parents sent us all to boarding school for high school. So I went to boarding school 2 years in upstate New York and 2 years in Southern California. Um, Finally educated at University of Oregon. Have lived in Oregon for 37 years now. And for 30 of those years, I was a high school English teacher. And uh, my high school English teaching overlapped for about 5 years with our starting our cannabis business. And then in 2020, with COVID, our business was taking off, and I wasn't really enjoying teaching online. So I decided to retire from teaching, and I've just been doing the business full time since then with my partner, who's my husband.
That's really interesting. I was actually just talking. I used to be a teacher too in Colorado at a charter school, and I was just talking with a delivery owner of a delivery company, Better Days Delivery, and he was also a teacher. So I don't know. I don't know what it is about teachers jumping into the cannabis industry, but maybe you could kind of shed some light on this. What motivated you to jump into cannabis?
Well, it was more my husband. So he was has his own construction business, had his own construction business, and he was really casting about looking for something different to do. He'd managed restaurants and was a chef and things, but he was kind of sick of that as well. And so when Oregon in 2015 passed made recreational cannabis legal to begin 2016, we decided that that would be a good thing for him to do. And so we mortgaged our house and we bought a farm. And
Wow.
he had 19 acres. He built everything, built out everything. And he was a really super enthusiastic organic gardener. We partnered up with some legacy growers from California who really taught us all the ins and outs of cannabis and became part owners in our business. And yeah, so we just started for that reason. And then we have a family friend, Uncle Mark, who was a legacy grower in Northeast Washington and was caught by the feds in the 1990s. Was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and a few years into his serving his time, he got really sick and died in prison, and he was only 50 years old. And
Wow.
so we decided to begin our farm to resurrect his memory and to give him a happier ending. And so Uncle Mark is our rebel spirit, and he's where we're called Rebel Spirit.
Well, let's talk about Uncle Mark a little bit. That just kind of brings us to an interesting rabbit hole to go down. Can you talk a little bit more about him, what he lived for, what he stood for?
Yeah, yeah. So Mark, if he were alive, would be in his 70s now, and he began in Massachusetts, and his dad was a high school principal, and his mom was, I believe, a public school librarian. And he had a wild, just he was a pretty wild child, and he moved out west. Started growing first in Northeast California and Southern Oregon, and then moved up to Washington. His niece is my best friend. His nephew is my husband's best friend, and so that's how Yeah, so interestingly, my husband knew Mark as a child growing up in Massachusetts, and I knew Mark as an adult in Oregon, and we all kind of came together here. So my husband and I knew Mark each separately before we knew each other. So it's pretty cool, and we're still close knit with his family, with Mark's family.
Yeah, really good branding. That's actually one thing I wanted to shout you out on right away. Is I just love the branding. I didn't know that there was a story, an actual person behind that. It's a really good story too. Well, let's jump right into kind of what you guys do. So, for anybody from the outside looking in, never heard of Rebel Spirit Cannabis, what do you guys do?
Well, we have our farm, as I mentioned, here in Oregon. We have two tier two grows, which means we have 80,000 square feet of grow space. Three-quarters of that is in greenhouses. The other one quarter is outdoor. We're best known for our flower and pre-rolls. This year's harvest brought us about 5,000 pounds of product. But in addition to, and we sell about 15 to 20,000 or 150 to 2,000, 100,000 pre rolls a month. We're in over 100 stores. We've got our own sales team that cover in territories. They've got territories and they cover Oregon. And we do all of our own manufacturing of our pre-rolls. We do contract manufacturing for other brands and farms, and we do contract trimming for other farms. Got about 30 employees. So yeah, that's the eagle's eye overview of our business.
So, you guys have a. It sounds like you're trying to jump into many different stores. How many stores did you say? 100 different stores?
Yeah, we're in a hunt. Last I looked, it was 107 stores in
Wow.
Oregon.
Big
Yeah.
congrats on that. What do you think is the limit for that? Do you think you'll have to get a new farm? So it sounds like you just have one farmer. What's the long-term goal there?
In Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that, we're always looking for new stores, and Oregon is a really challenged market because there's so many licenses. I think we've got 700 stores in Oregon in really a limited population state. There are over 1,300 cannabis producers in Oregon, growers in Oregon. And so, really, we're always looking for new stores. At the same time, we might have some struggling stores that fall away, but we hang right in there at about 100 stores.
Wow. So specifically, what with the level of production that you have right now, how many stores do you think you can add to your catalog?
I'm not sure we would add more stores. What we try to do is to get stores that are going to sell through really regularly and have volume sales, because unfortunately, it's pretty hard for us to service super remote stores, especially because their sales might be lower, and so then the amount that they buy from us is going to be smaller. And our salespeople are full service, and so they get an account, they do delivery, they do everything.
Huh.
And if the store doesn't buy a large enough volume, and say they're literally 300 miles out, we can't make it work economically to service those stores.
And so it sounds.
So
Well, sorry for
yeah.
talking over you. It sounds like it's more of a privilege to work with Rebel Spirit than the other way around. You just
Well, we would like to think of our stores as as our partners, and we want their businesses to work for sure,
yeah.
for sure. They have an interest in our being able to make a go of it too. I think that's one thing that's super important in the cannabis industry in general, and Oregon in particular, is that companies need to work together. So sometimes, honestly, it's not with our 5,000 pounds. It's not if we can sell enough. We end up buying product from other farms to supplement what we've got. We're really known for having quite a variety of strains, and we've got about 20 really good proprietary strains, but we grow about 40 strains. And then we supplement our variety with um, uh, organic product that we buy from other farms as well.
Yeah. And so, kind of moving forward, we're getting on a tangent here, but I was really interested in kind of the business model that you have going on, the kind of customers, how you serve them. But if you were to say that Rebel Spirit is known for something in the cannabis industry, what do you think that is?
I would say that we're no, well, we have just a great business reputation for being honest and kind and having a lot of integrity, but we're most known for our pre rolls. So we sell two kinds. We sell straights that are made with our Roll Pros machine, and then cones. About 40% of our customers prefer the cones. The other 60% prefer the straights. And so we give our customers what they want. But definitely it's the pre rolls. We really started out as being a flower company, and then dominated the pre-roll market. And now, particularly this year, we've come back really strong with our flower. But we also have edibles and concentrates. We don't have our processor's license, and so our profit margins on those products are lower because we have to pay for somebody else who manufactures.
Yeah, really great information. I'm kind of curious. So, being a woman CEO, what kind of challenges have you noticed in the cannabis industry, if any, and have they impacted your kind of approach to your business?
I think that any internally with our own employees and things, there's never been a problem. As a leader, I try to lead by example. I work really hard. I think that my 30 years teaching really served me well,
Yeah.
because for most of that time, for 20 years of that time, I was also a department leader and team leader. And so um, I've got a lot of experience motivating teams. And so that's the way I operate at our farm. I don't call them management meetings. They're called leadership meetings that we have once a week, and team leaders come together for leadership meetings. I try to have as flat a leadership model as I can so that we keep everybody invested and empowered. Um, from outside of our company, the one thing I noticed was it was frustrating when it came to raising money. We bootstrapped ourselves for many years, for 5 or 6 years before we got an investor. And I would read in the news about this startup and that startup and all these companies getting with no track record at all, uh, getting $5 million investments, and that was frustrating for me
Yeah.
when we had $4 million in annual revenue, and still investors were kind of, I don't know, we just weren't getting it, and nobody was saying it. But all the statistics show that women-led companies really struggle to get investors, and so I did notice that the sexism wasn't overt, but I believe it was there.
Yeah, you're probably exactly right. If I were to guess too, obviously being a man, I can say what I want to say, but I don't know at the end of the day. And so I think you kind of hit the head of the nail when you started off by saying with your background being a teacher. You and I both know being a teacher, that classroom management, kind of controlling the room is a really big part of the profession. And so I would imagine a lot of these things you can kind of carry over being an executive in cannabis, right?
Yeah, I do get a lot of speaking engagements, and so that's really helped. Uh, that really helped for sure. I think that Rebel Spirit does have a national presence and a national reputation, and that has been in large part because my partner and I do get out a lot. We travel a lot, and we make sure that Rebel Spirit sees and is seen, and that we're part of things. And so my speaking engagements really help out with that.
Yeah, well, let's jump into Rebel Spirit a little bit more. Thanks for your background, teaching us more about you. So I was looking you guys up, excuse me. And you guys are really known for your high quality products, and so I'm really kind of curious, what inspired you to kind of focus on that sort of business model? And do you think that your living soil and your natural practices and your cultivation process are a big reason why you're known for quality, or what do you think?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I think that our decision to be all organic and have living soil comes down to our values. Uh, I feel really strongly about giving back to the world. And that was why I was a teacher for 30 years. And I carry that ethic into our business. And so that's also why do profit sharing with the Last Prisoner Project. because we have great concerns about inequities in the cannabis industry itself. But that integrity also goes to the land. And I think that a lot of people who don't use organic products or who don't grow organic, they really think in a way selfishly about the end product. Oh, if I eat this or thing that's not organic, it might hurt me. But they don't understand that growing with inorganic methods also hurts the earth. I don't think that they understand that chemical fertilizers kill the soil. And so for us, having living soil means preserving the planet. It means enriching the planet. And so the soil in our 19-acre farm is better now than when we bought the farm 9 years ago because of our living soil methods. And so, for instance, if you've got living soil, uh, the stalks from our cannabis get ground up and then they get compost and put back into the soil so that nothing's wasted. And so everything just grows in a cycle. We've got ladybugs that eat the mites. We've got frogs that eat the ladybugs, snakes that eat the frogs. So we've got a full ecosystem on our farm. And I think what most people, and is it cheaper to not be organic? Absolutely. Well,
Oh,
not in the long run. Not in the long run.
I don't know. You tell me. I was guessing no.
In the short run, if you want to make a buck this year, by all means, put all those chemicals on your soil, and it's going to push your plants to super grow. But what those inorganic fertilizers do is they urge the plants to draw all the nutrients out of the soil. And so you get these amazing plants with dead soil. And so what that means is you need to put on even more fertilizer next year, and more the next, and more the next, and more the next, and you end up with dead soil.
Yeah, so I think honestly that makes your business model more sustainable. It sounds like not just for money, but also for the longer term, for the soil, for growing the products over the longer term.
Yeah. And it's also why we chose not to grow indoors. I know that among some people is controversial, that they believe that the best product is grown indoors, and we just disagree. I think that there's no substitute for the flavor in the
Interesting.
product that comes from the soil. And so we use the sun um, to grow, rather than lights. We use the wind to aerate rather than air conditioning. Um, Nature's got it all right there,
Yeah.
right? And that's what's going to grow the tastiest product. And so I think that, our the organic nature and the live soil nature of our product comes through in the taste of the product and contributes to its quality at the consumer endpoint. So the consumer gets a more pure product and a tastier product with Rebel Spirit.
Yeah, really interesting. Learning actually as we're talking here, so thank you for kind of teaching me on that. Kind of moving forward a little bit, who do you think your target market is for Rebel Spirit? Is it these people that want these natural organic products? Is it the people who are looking for potency and quality? Is it people who are just, oh, I'm a rebel, let's buy Rebel Spirit? What do you think?
Well, we are a mid-shelf brand, so we're not the most expensive product out there, but we aren't the cheapest, and we can't be the cheapest and keep our dedication to quality. So we're right in there. I think that we're popular because we're a really good product for the price. I will say that Oregon, and I might be biased, but the West Coast generally, Oregon in particular, has honestly some of the absolutely the best weed in the nation. And so I would never say anything as arrogant as, oh, Rebel Spirit's got the best weed in Oregon. There's a lot of good weed in Oregon, and it really is subject to what your tastes are. We're also not the only organic brand in Oregon, and so we don't get to charge more in Oregon by nature of being organic, because there are a lot of people who are organic, and I really think that that's wonderful. I've kind of lost your question though.
Who do you think your target market is, or who do you think your
Oh,
target
target
buyer?
market. Target market. Well, the pre rolls are really what we're known for. And I was just reading some market research about pre rolls recently, and it's male millennials who really use pre rolls. When it comes to like household purchasing, women do a majority of the purchasing, but that is not true for cannabis. For cannabis men, even if they're buying for their households and their female partners are partaking with them or their friends or whatever, generally speaking, it's the men who have procured that product. When we did our branding, we consciously did not want to appeal only to men or only to women. We hope that we have a gender neutral brand that appeals to both sexes. The Americana elements of our iconography are on purpose. And with the Rebel thing, we want people to know that Americans come in all stripes. Honestly, conservative people and Republicans don't own the flag, right? Uh, and Americans have a little bit of rebel in each of them, I think. We're a very individualistic nation, for better and for worse. So, for the American ethic is that you grow up, you leave home, you go someplace else, and you make your way in the world. So it's very individualistic and it's very rebel. At the same time, we've got to cooperate and conform to a certain extent to get along, right? And a lot of us have to conform a lot in our daily lives in order to get along. And so Rebel Spirit as a brand speaks to that tiny rebel in each of us. It's Friday night. I'm going to get my rebel on. I'm going to go Uncle Mark. Here we go. Because the daytime, I'm a CPA, right? And I'm really locked in this box. And so I think that the spirit, so to speak, of the brand is what attracts our customers. And so I would honestly, I think that our customer base are those people who feel like, yes, I am kind of Joe American and I'm a rebel. Don't box me in. Don't box me in.
Yeah. Well, I think being myself, what I know about you and what I know about your products, that's exactly why I would buy it. It's just it's hey, I'm a rebel. I want to go get high on a Friday night. Let's go to Rebel Spirit. That makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like you're saying millennial men, and so that would be me. So I'm your target. The answer would be me. I mean, I'm your target market. Moving forward, I'm interested to learn more about your production process, and so you're kind of answering a lot of the questions I had for you, kind of intuitively as we go here. But one thing I wanted to kind of talk about was your production process, and so you mentioned pre rolls or something that you
Yeah.
guys do pretty well, and so you have your 19-acre farm. Is there also a production facility on site where you do these pre rolls on site, or how does that
Yes.
work?
Yeah, we do that on site. And so as I mentioned before, we work in teams. And so we've got a sales team, a packaging team, pre-roll team, trim team, and we've got actually two different pre-roll teams. And so we've got that kind of come together as one. So as I mentioned, we have the Roll Pros automatic rolling machine. We have two of those machines. Those are super specialized, and not every employee can run them. We only have 2 or 3 employees who can run those machines. In addition to Chris, my husband. So those are super specialized. And then over on the cone side, actually, is pretty specialized as well. We've got one person who does what we call the jumping. And so the jumping is putting those cones in. Chris, my partner, has retrofitted a Futurola with a proprietary uh, acoustic bouncing system or something. So we've got that. Our cones are hand twisted. We've got April, who is our pre-roll manager, and she makes sure she puts eyes on all the thousands of pre-rolls that go out here, and really takes a look at them for quality control. So they're weighing the pre-rolls. Our cones are 0.5 grams, and our straights made from the Roll Pros machines are 0.7 grams. The reason the straights are bigger is because the uh, 0.7 rolls better in that machine. And then there are some strains, the super keepy strains don't work very well on the machine, so we send those over to be done on the cone side. So it's really kind of cool to have that flex in our system to accommodate the different kinds of cannabis that come through. Because as I said, we ourselves grow 40 different strains, and they each have a little different quality about them. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's so. And then we've got Chris, my husband's quite the engineer. He's created a grinding machine
Huh.
that's proprietary to us. We also do hand grinding. Our trimming, all of our trimming is hand finished, but we do some machine sorting of product. Yeah, so it's definitely a team effort, and all the teams work together. Our Phil is our kind of I would call him like our product team leader. And so he's got a hand in knowing what our inventory is. He also, his desk sits right next to the sales manager's desk. And so he knows what's selling. He knows what inventory we have on hand. He knows, so he makes what we call a pack map. He'll make a map of product that tells the pre-rollers this is going to be rolled on the machine. This is going to be cones twisted by hand. We need this many packs of this many packs of that. He's also in contact with Chris and the growers so that he knows what's coming in. So it's quite a coordination to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And then he's the one too that makes sure that when the sales come in from the sales team, that we've got the product that they need
Yeah,
ready to
well,
go.
yeah, it sounds like you have some great processes, and so you could maybe disappear for a month, and you'll come back in a month, and Rebel Spirit would still be there, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I
that's
could. I don't know about Chris, and I've got Katie, who is my my assistant, and we joke, but it's really true. She keeps the wheels on the bus, and I just drive it. So she's the one who really keeps things going for me for sure. Sometimes, so I have the flexibility to work from home. I'm at home right now. I go into my office at the farm probably 3 days a week. And if she might call me at home and say, the wheels are coming off the bus and I need some help with this one or whatever. So I say, all right, I'm on the way. I'm on the way.
yeah, that's awesome. One more question. I kind of wanted to jump into kind of your future prospects. When you were just getting started, one thing I don't think we covered that well was your marketing strategies and kind of how you were able to get your foot in the door with, you said, 100 different dispensaries. And so I'm kind of curious, did you cold call? Did you email? I know you probably did events or maybe all the above, or what was your go-to strategy for kind of finding and securing sales?
Well, we had a leg up in that we were first to market. We were one of the very first farms in Oregon since we made the decision to go into the business in 2015. We started on the medical side. And so we started getting into dispensaries. So our first crop was medical grow, and then we got into dispensaries with our medical grow. And then in 2016, when rec became legal, everybody started kind of flipping and shifting to the rec side. And we were there and we were ready for that. We also, as I mentioned, had our team of grow experts from California. And so our very first year in 2016, we won our first Oregon Growers Cup for Best Outdoor Flower. And so we just were really fortunate right from the beginning to start with a really good, just a great team and a great reputation. I mean, I remember our growers that first year. were we had to put off paying them. We said you got to wait till the end of the season.
Oh.
But then, you asked about marketing. Um, Honestly, in the very beginning, I did some print ad marketing in Dope Magazine and in Northwest Leaf, Oregon Leaf. And one thing that worked really well for us, I thought it was just kind of an instinctual thing. I had a nice ad. It showed Uncle Mark and a really beautiful ad that our marketing agency made up for us. But then every month, as we got new dispensaries signing on to Rebel Spirit, I said, Rebel Spirit, this beautiful ad, please find Rebel Spirit at these dispensaries. And I had their logos and locations right on the ad until, finally, I did that for maybe a year until finally I've got, like 40 or 50 um, dispensaries on there. The dispensary people are talking these magazines and they're like, what the heck? We want free advertising
Yeah.
too. And so that worked really well for us early on. And actually, at one point, I think it was in 2019, we were in 170 dispensaries. So, but we decided to scale that back because we didn't have enough product to service all of them. And so we scaled it back and really kept the dispensaries that paid on time and were selling through. And that's where we've kind of hit this sweet spot at a hundred or so. Um, I don't do much print advertising anymore. It's pretty darn expensive for what you get. And now that the market has matured, it just doesn't make sense for me to advertise in a glossy magazine that very few people are going to see and that's going to get recycled and not go anywhere. So uh, right away, and since then, our marketing in Oregon has really just been giving away swag. So we give away T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, beanies, coffee mugs, pint glasses, um, something that's going to, I mean, if you give somebody a good quality ball cap, they're going to wear that around for a year, right? And then you discover things like, oh, actually, hats are a better investment than T-shirts because they might wear a T-shirt once a week, whereas they'll wear a hat every day. Plus, with T-shirts, you've got to stock all these different sizes, where a hat is one size fits all. So you just learn through trial and error about the things that will work with swag. Um, because we are in Oregon and prices are so low here, it really is tough to make the profit. We don't do much other marketing other than promotions with our dispensary partners and the swag.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, kind of funny. I wish I had brought the sticker that you gave me over here to kind of show on the camera. I didn't know that was a big part of your marketing strategy. But you kind of brought us to a good kind of transition point here. As you were talking about the USA being a mature market, there's a high investment involved in securing new partners. And so we actually met abroad in Peru recently for the Andean Hemp Convention. Shout out to Chris Day, GCNC, putting that together. And so I'm kind of curious, is this kind of inspiring your ambition to go into the Latin American market, or what do you think is going to happen over in Latin America?
Well, to start out, we had the goal from the very beginning of being a nationwide brand and being an international brand for sure. So we've got product licensing or brand licensing going in New Jersey, and then we've got it lined up in Arizona, Maryland. Let's see, I've got my list right here: Massachusetts, Ohio, and so we want to be a national brand, but we also want to be an international brand. And through GCNC, Global Cannabis Network Connection, um, that's how I got my foot in the door with the international market and met Jose Escalante
Yeah.
and Raul of Futura Farms. They loved our brand right from our first meeting. And so we've been brand partners with them for a year now and have had Rebel Spirit on the shelves in Peru since last April, so over 6 months. and things are going really well there. They have a plan to start marketing pre-rolls soon, and plan to have Rebel Spirit is going to be their house brand for pre-rolls. So it's really exciting. I think that it's very difficult for obviously for one person to do everything. And I mentioned before that we really need to have a lot of partners here. And Futura Farms is a great partner for us in Latin America because they have their own expansion plans for sure with the brand, and they plan, and Rebel Spirit is part of their expansion plan, which makes me very happy because in my mind, it's hard enough to expand in the US with all of our little laws and every market's different, and that's really difficult. And then for me, obviously, I don't speak Spanish, so I've got a language barrier, there are cultural barriers and things that our partners in Peru can finesse. They know about
Yeah,
all of that, and they
yeah,
just did a fantastic job with GCNC of hosting the Andean Cannabis and Hemp Trade Forum, that where you and I met. I was super impressed with that event, and it was really
yeah.
wonderful to meet people from all over the world there. I came back. I had more fun in Peru, and it was way more productive than I thought it would be on both counts. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, and shout out again to Jose and Raul Futura Farms. Really great guys. I think they do a great job of kind of putting a face to the cannabis brand and being able to, they brought in a congressman. I think that they're really good with people. They know they have a certain power with people in Peru that people like myself or like you wouldn't be able to have. It influence change and really bring about change in a positive way. So I wanted to shout them out for that.
Yeah.
And so, kind of moving forward, are you more bullish for the USA market or kind of these emerging markets like Latin America, Europe? What do you think?
I'm bulging for any emerging market at this point. Having had the experience of being in a mature market like Oregon, it's tough without national legalization.
Yeah,
If we had that, if we could export our amazing product across the US and across the world, we would crush it because not every climate is hospitable to growing cannabis. They don't grow oranges in Illinois. You know what I mean? And so when we get national legalization, I feel really strongly that the West Coast of the United States is going to be providing the rest of the US with product and the rest of the world with product. Uh, that said, um, the regulations can be um, almost asphyxiating. Just really, they could make it really, really difficult to make money. And so when you ask what I'm bullish on, I'm honestly bullish on partnerships with people in other markets who know how to finesse those markets because my skill and my access is limited. So yeah, I guess I'm bullish on connections. I'm bullish
interesting.
on finding
Yeah,
partners,
no,
you know.
interesting response. I wasn't expecting that. One more question for you, and then just kind of a few fun questions to kind of finish this off. And so for more people who kind of want to be like you, maybe kind of younger female entrepreneurs who are looking up to you and say, wow, I'd like to do something like that. What kind of advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who want to be more like you in Rebel Spirit?
Wow, I think that the good advice would be to start small and to bootstrap. We did that. And in the beginning, as I said, we were very frustrated about we didn't even try to get outside investment until 2018. And then it took us about 3 years to get a sizable investment. And that whole time was a struggle for us financially.
Yeah,
It was frustrating because we saw all this potential for growth, but we were limited by lack of capital. That said, we never had enough rope to hang ourselves, if you know what I mean. So if you have a whole pocket full of cash, if you have a huge infusion of cash, it is really easy to overextend yourself. And that's where you get into trouble.
yeah,
Um, and so I would say pay as you go. pay as you go. And I am physically a very conservative person. As a high school teacher, raised two kids, put them through college, paid for my house and my little car. I'm very, as I said, physically conservative, and that's what I would say for sure. Also, get good advisors. We've got great advisors, one in Milwaukee, one in Chicago, one in San Francisco, and we've been meeting once a week for years now, 6 years. So get good advisors on, give them a little piece of the company, people with good connections. One of our advisors is an expert in scaling. The other is a finance guy, and our third one has great connections nationwide in the industry. And so surround yourself with really good people.
Yeah, I like the advice for offering them a part of your company too. I think that's one of the ways that newer entrepreneurs might not understand the power of rev share, kind of sharing income as it comes in, as opposed to giving them, you could have maybe paid them 15, $20,000, and then maybe they would have stuck around for a year or so. But instead of giving them rev share, I think that's an interesting idea.
Well, we don't, and we're not even doing rev share. We're doing equity.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Using it on
Yeah,
common.
and so, yeah. So it's not like they get a check every month. They're really invested in our future.
Yeah. Just a few more kind of fun questions for you, Diana. Thanks again for coming on. We're starting to cut into more than a half hour here, and so let's start to wrap
That's
this up a
okay.
little bit here. And so you don't have to answer these if you don't want to, but first off, I'm kind of curious about your first experience trying cannabis.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, the first one that was memorable, I think, was when
It was
um,
memorable.
I, I was either a ninth or a 10th grader,
Uh-huh.
and I was visiting, I was in boarding school in upstate New York, and my brother was a student at Cornell University.
Uh-huh.
And it was about a 5 hour Greyhound bus ride for me to go. I was in Troy, New York, for me to go west to Cornell in Ithaca, New York, and I would get on that bus and I'd go spend the weekend with my brother, and that was just so much fun because I get to go to all these college parties and hang out with the big kids and all this stuff. And I remember, I think it was when I was a 10th grader, he was so kind. He let me bring, I think it was 4 girlfriends with me, and we all went to visit him. And so he just hosted these 5 16-year-old girls, and they smoked us out. They smoked us out. And I remember running around the Cornell campus at night. I remember they had a big statue of some guy on a horse or something. I said, I'm going to climb up there. I'm going to get on that horse. And I do remember waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go to the bathroom, and I was still high. And I powerful. This is powerful. I don't think that's the same night, but in that same trip, we saw the Grateful Dead at Cornell University, and
Oh
their
wow.
supposedly their most renowned rendition of Trucking is from that very concert. So I've
Uh-huh.
got the stub and everything from that.
Wow, that's a good story. You got in the Grateful Dead too. Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, these days, and so you're a little bit older now. You're not a 16-year-old girl anymore. I would imagine maybe that you don't like getting high that much anymore, super high at least. So, what would you say is your favorite cannabis product these days?
I really go with our pre rolls. I'm not much of an edibles person. The high is different for me, and I've been burned a couple times by edibles, as other people have, and I've had some pretty powerful experiences.
Yeah,
I
so,
to
some of
say
those should be illegal. I love cannabis, but yeah, no, they're just, sorry. Keep going.
so. Honestly, I cannabis, as you know, has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger, and that includes Rebel Spirit Cannabis. Most of our strains run 25 to 30%, and so I'm kind of a one or two hit wonder, really. I like the honestly, I like the entourage effect, meaning have a couple cocktails first, and then a
Huh.
couple hits. Jack Herer is my favorite. Our particular phenotype of Jack Herer is so flavorful and so wonderful, and I love the effects on it on me. We have another strain called Lightspeed that I really like as well, but I always go back to Jack. I joke that I'm a one man woman and I'll do Jack, and so there we go. Yeah, but no, I don't get high off, and I think that what you'll find in this industry is that if you've got really successful business people in the industry, they're probably not stoners.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if they are, maybe just drops. So I personally like CBD. I'll do drops that way. But going back to
Right,
you,
but using the product doesn't mean being stoned.
yeah, yeah, got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Back to you. Last question for you, then we can wrap this up. So, kind of looking into your crystal ball, knowing what Diane Downey knows, the whole team at Rebel Spirit. And actually, you're the first person I've asked since post-election too. So, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts here. What do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years for cannabis?
Obviously, I don't want to predict because when we got into this industry, I thought, oh, surely people will come to their senses, and within 3 to 5 years, we'll have, cannabis will be available nationwide. I also really did not expect for us to not have banking at this point. That's the thing that's super nuts and super frustrating is not having access to normal financing, having to go to private investors for our financing. Um, but I I have hopes for safe banking. Matt Gaetz is a double-edged sword. All right, I do not want him for the nation. I do want him for cannabis. Um, I don't think it's good. His morals, right, and lack of integrity don't fit with what I want for our country. At the same time, selfishly, he's pro cannabis, and if he is confirmed as Attorney General, uh, okay, I'll take it. Jeff Sessions in the last Trump administration set us way back. Uh, he did away with Obama's coal memo, and we don't need another Jeff Sessions for sure. So, yeah, I think I personally was disappointed in the results of the election. I wanted Kamala Harris to win. I was excited about the prospect of having a woman president, but the
Yeah,
people have decided that it's not time for that, and so
not yet.
uh, not yet. I yeah, I'm just rolling with the punches.
And so, to kind of sum off, do you think during this administration, the next 5 years, that we'll maybe get descheduled, maybe get legalization nationwide, or what do you think?
I think that, uh, well, I'm disappointed that the descheduling meetings were postponed from December 2nd. That was like, are you kidding me? So I have high hopes for descheduling and I have high hopes for safe banking. I think that descheduling is really going to open up financing for us. Uh, as far as interstate trade, that could come with federal legalization, uh, golly jeepers, I would hope that we would get that within 5 years.
Yeah.
I just think that there are a lot of forces that are against us. So those same red states who purport to be um, libertarian and leanings and so on, all of a sudden that closes up when it comes to women's rights and cannabis.
Hmm.
So freedom for everything but women and cannabis.
Thanks so much again. This is Diane Downey. She's the co-founder and CEO of Rebel Spirit Cannabis. I'll make sure to leave all of her contact information in the video description. If you want to apply and be one of maybe her potential partners. Do you have any last words that you'd like to share to kind of pitch yourself, or maybe people want to work with you but aren't sure if they can?
Yeah, I well, we're doing brand licensing deals outside of Oregon. So if anybody wants to really have a leg up, I say a new company wants a leg up with their branding, we've got it all done, and we could really be a good support for people out there who want to hit the ground running in a new market.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Diane. Definitely wish you all the best and check in with you in the future. But thanks for hopping on. Talk soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.